So we had an amazing day for Annie's celebration of life today, and the outpouring of love and the people that came to this were awesome. Annie was the heart and soul of this winery for a long time. We all kind of got started because my dad was a home winemaker, but she and I would kind of go into the basement and like check out his home brews and have fun with them. And I'd be like, well, what can we mix and what can we blend? And so we talked him into doing this. And then we all kind of started out doing this winery together. She and I would work in the vineyard for a while. We did that in the very beginning, and then when we opened the winery, she was our tasting room star for sure. We used to do free wine tasting, which was kind of crazy, but we had a big wine list, and she talked everybody into trying absolutely everything on that list. She said, if you don't try them, then you won't know how wonderful they are. And so she did that, and she would tease people and joke with people, and everybody had such a good time with Annie all the time. It was so much fun. And eventually she had to retire because her arthritis just became so bad that she couldn't stand all day. But she made so many friends, and so many of those people still come. And so it was just amazing to celebrate all of that with her today, honestly. And on a personal level, she's been in my life since day one, and my girl's life since day one, and was always there. Like whenever, she was just that person that was always there.
I don't know. There was so much that both I feel like I got from Annie and is still a part of me, but also I learned from Annie, of course. She was just, I don't know, she had this love and zest for life that I honestly, I don't see it a lot anymore, honestly. And I feel like even as she was very witty, she could be a little grumpy, she was a little cranky sometimes, but even just her outlook and she wasn't artistic, but she had this creative expression on life that I feel like I have learned a lot more today of just how many people she has reached, and also how much of a life she has lived in so many different avenues that I have either heard very little about or didn't know at all about. But she is just, I don't know, she was just the spirit that I had always looked up to. Not only was she always there at every practice, and when my mom couldn't be there to pick us up and to take us to school and whatever, she was always that person. But she was always just someone I looked up to as well, because I could, see myself in her a lot, which is a lucky thing that I'm able to say. But she just always had this outlook on life that inspired me fully and totally. And I still think people should hold on to, because we just don't see it that often. But she was just a really, even not being family to her, she was a ridiculously incredible person to know, and I am very blessed and lucky that I got to know her. But yeah.
Annie meant so much to me. Wasn't even here very long. She said she'd be my mom for me. And she was. We had good times, bad times. I know I pissed her off quite often. She didn't like my driving. But she was always happy to see me and wanted me around. I could talk to her. I could make her walk and nobody else could. She was special. Short time I knew her, she meant a lot. Didn't have enough Manhattans with her. I said a lot. She's an awesome lady. I wish I knew her long. All the people I met today or seen today just loved her so much, and it showed. She touched so many people. She's an amazing woman, and I miss her.
I'm already crying, but I was just talking about Annie and how she would have loved the event that we had. It was perfect for her. It was just breezy and calm, and we had just an amazing amount of people come in and talk about their stories, and I thought that was the coolest thing, because as long as I've known Annie, I'm only 25. She's had so many stories throughout her entire life, and I've heard so many stories that I've never heard about before. And it's just amazing, like the person that she was and the person that she started out as and came about, and the person that she developed into, and eventually she became this personality at the winery, and people just love her, and people love her energy. And no, she's not, bubbly and happy, like right off the bat, but she's the person that will be honest and straightforward, and we love her, we loved her sarcastic energy. We loved everything about her and her sense of humor, and just the way that she carried herself and the way that she dressed even. And I never felt out of place with her, because as an artist, she could relate to me as someone who does art as well, and we were both kind of bouncing off each other as like weird people, and we would always be weird people, like me, my mom, my sister, her. We were always just like those weird artistic people that could just relate to each other, and that was like the best thing, is to have like this group that we could just be together and be weird and be artistic and be fun and have our little inside jokes and have everything in one just like little tight-knit group, which family is, that's what family should be, honestly. But not everyone is fortunate enough to have that as their family members, and I was fortunate enough to have someone who is fully accepting of me and who I was and who I wanted to be. So that was just the best part of Annie, I think.
Well, we've known Anne since Sandhill Crane Vineyard opened, and she was one of the servers back in the day. She would always have her own little private thing, and she'd say there would be some wines that you couldn't have, and she would say, well, this is mine, so I'm going to go ahead and give you guys some because you're regulars. But I can't imagine how hard it is for Holly and the family, because she was such a big presence here, and we loved Anne. We spent a lot of time here. We do spend a lot of time here, and she's a big presence, and we love her.
We've been hanging out with Anne since the winery opened, and one of my favorite moments was we came kind of late. They closed at 5 or something. We came at like 4:30, and she says, help me close up the place. So she takes all the almost empty bottles, and we go to a little corner place, and we sat and finished off every bottle. There must have been 15 of them. A sip here, a sip there. Must have been there for 2 hours just chatting away. Another memory is we liked hanging out with them as they aged, and her and Alice, and we would sit and talk about what did we like, and we all decided we liked musicals. So we decided to go to Cats when it came to the screen. So we took them, the old ladies, to Cats, and we had such a great day. We went to Olive Garden after. So when we were thinking about pictures here, we've got all these pictures of us sitting around, getting drunk or going to the movies or whatever. So we love Anne. We love you, Anne.
So I met Anne, now I'm learning she went by Annie, at Crossroads Animal Hospital. The first time I met her, she was bringing in her cat Phoebe, who we got to see every week, much to Phoebe's dismay, but thankfully we got to know Anne that way. And even in our first meeting, she was the kindest heart, but she was also the person that was going to, because she was so confident in herself, she'd call you out if you're doing something ridiculous, or, she's one of those good friends that'll call you out in those moments when you need it. So from there, you know, a lot of the team, we'd come for Thirsty Thursdays and get to hang out with Ann. She was pouring at that time, and it was really special. And when I ended up leaving Crossroads, we had my going away party here, and Ann was hosting, and we had a dance party out here. She gave me a bottle of Maple Shine. I think it just came out around that time. She and Alice presented it with me and gave me hugs and said they were gonna miss me. And then she made sure I was full of wine that night. She'd be like, "Oh no, this bottle's open. We should probably finish that off as your going away gift. Oh no, this bottle's open. We should finish off this bottle because it's open, you know." So I moved to Grand Rapids, and any chance we got, we'd come back and visit. And she would kindly allow us to hang out on her Three Seasons porch, even when there's tons of people for Run Through the Vines. And we would just chat and have stories. And she kept telling us every time we come, we gotta have a gin and tonic night. We gotta have a gin and tonic night. So finally, this past November, we were able to make it happen. And again, the stories are flowing. She's showing us pictures of her past and of her home. And it was the most magical thing. And every time we talked with her, I want to be like her. She became on a pedestal almost because of her kindness, because of her big heart, because of her sassiness, because of her assuredness. I looked up to her so much, and we had so many good conversations, and I wish I could play them back. So when I got the news of her passing, we had talked a lot about tattoos, and so I ended up getting a tattoo, kind of took the leap. It was my first tattoo ever, and I thought Ann would tell me to go get it, so I did. But I'm gonna miss her.
I met Annie, through my wife Teresa. She was nice enough to introduce me to her, and when we were first dating, we'd been dating a while at this point, and she was like, "Oh, we got to go visit Ann while we're at Sandhill Crane Winery, and we're in town to see family." And then was like, "Okay, cool, this will be fun, meet someone." And the first meeting, I could tell this was a woman of depth and adventure and just a lot of wisdom. We made it a regular thing that every year around Christmas time, we always came over to come visit her, and she would always feign like, "Oh, I don't want to entertain, I don't want to talk to people," or something like that. But the great times we had and the great conversation we had just showed like how fiercely loyal she was in friendships, and then how much it meant to her, and how I got to see my now wife and her bond with each other so often that they kind of lifted each other up. It was so cool to see. So I'm so glad that I was able to witness that, and also consider myself a friend of Annie's. So.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Pascarella, and I met Ann, I would say, in the late 1990s up in Benton Harbor. Michigan State was putting on a horticultural day for grapes, learning about grapes. It was a very hot day, and we got on the bus together. That was really like a wagon and not a bus. And we were all drinking our wine and having a good time. And my husband, who had been with them before and previous, sat back and didn't go on the tour. So Ann and I and Alice and Norm had a wonderful time just learning about the grapes, and they knew much more than I did, so they would tell me little tidbits and everything. But we had a wonderful dinner together, just a lot of good laughter and fun times. We all ate together, and it was a good time. And we did that for many years. We did that for many years together. Good time. And then here, they opened this, and we live in Napoleon, so this is not too far from our home. So we met each other out there, and this is where we begin. So very good. Thank you.
I've known them for a long time, like Sue said, through MSU and the winery, and making grapes, and did some volunteer work here as well. I know Norm for years, and then of course Holly and Heather, and just through the wine, and they're just great. Alice and Ann and everybody had, like I said, a lot of fun, and it's been great times, good memories. So hello and God bless you.
Hi, I'm Dennis Smoke. I knew Ann when, must be like 18 years ago, maybe 17. We would come up on weekends and help Holly and the crew do a bottling. And then Ann also liked scotch, so we came up and did some tastings. And yes, she is really funny when she was drunk. So, besides that, known her for a while, and she's always been fun.
So when I first came here, I used to work at a racetrack in Detroit, and but I lived real close by, and I wanted to come here because I loved wine. And when I came here for tastings, Annie's the one that waited on us, my boyfriend and I at the time, and she was so feisty, and she wanted you to taste every single wine, and she would, like, when the bottle was almost empty, she would like tip it up and just guzzle it, and it was the best. And she was just made you feel so comfortable. So then I had worked at this racetrack for about, 20 years, and I ended up not working there anymore, just whatever reasons. But I knew that this was the place that I wanted to work. Like, that was, I didn't care how much money it paid. I just knew, like, the camaraderie here, the people that worked here, the people that owned it was just super, super nice. And I wanted to be a part of that. So I got a job here. Like, Holly gave me a job, like, pretty much that day. And when I was supposed to start, I ended up breaking my pelvis when I was supposed to start. And I couldn't work for 6 weeks. And Holly just let me come back whenever I was ready. And so I worked here for about 2 years before ending up moving to Indiana. But in the meantime, like, Annie was the best. And there was a point where Annie couldn't serve wine anymore. I don't know the reasons. I believe it was health reasons. But she would come here and sit with all the people and hang out with them and sit at their tables and drink the wine. And if you happen to leave a bottle there that you forgot about, she would make sure it was taken care of and drank it. But yeah, Annie was the best. I just loved her.
Hi, my name is Kathy Taylor, and I have incredibly fond memories of Ann. She was actually my grandpa's girlfriend, and not a lot of people get to say that in life. I was a teenager, and my grandpa took care of my grandma, and my grandma was aging gracefully, and he was so incredible helping her do that. And Ann at the same time was next door helping another person age gracefully. And then both of those people passed on and transitioned, and when that happened, they got together and they got to enjoy life, and it was beautiful to watch. And then Ann actually helped my grandfather age gracefully and transition, and it was a beautiful, beautiful demonstration of love. And I feel like it's been great. We've come and kept that connection and come to the winery, and the family here has been so good to Ann. And the grapes helped her grow, and the wine helped her feel. And what a beautiful place. And I know she is up there dancing and happy. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Patty Taylor. My husband, or my father-in-law, was what Kathy just talked about, was a very dear friend of Ann's, and their life together was just supporting each other and loving each other. And I always felt, here we go, I always felt that Ann was like a great aunt to me and our adopted grandma, right? And we loved her dearly, and it was just so great to see her over the years. And I know that Ann is right where she wants to be right now. Thank you.
I'm Bill Taylor. I'm Patty's I'm Patty's brother-in-law, and I was Al Taylor's, or what they're speaking of as Grandpa Taylor, his son. I was the youngest in the family. Patty's husband, Bob, was my older brother. I knew Ann back on Grosse Ile when she was still in the pagoda. I knew Don Leisinger as well before he passed. And then, as was described, Ann and Dad just kind of got together. And I can still remember how much they loved one another and how much they were part of each other's life. And we will never, ever be able to thank Ann enough for everything she did for Dad. That's enough.
Annie and her family are some of the reasons why I got into the wine business to begin with. My wife and I, we were two of Sandhill Crane's earliest customers, and that's where I got to know Ann and Alice. And I always thought of Alice as the sweet one and Ann as the incredibly sassy one. And she always cracked me up with her jokes, and spent many times together. Few can drink who under the table. I'm not going to comment on who often won those. That's a private thing. But I miss Ann. I miss Norma a hell of a lot as well. And I'm always grateful to the Moffat, Leisinger, and Ballensack families for giving me a chance and helping introduce me to the greatness that is the Michigan wine industry. I currently work for St. Julian, but I've worked at Sandhill Crane for, I want to say, at least 10 years. And they've been wonderful years. I was tasting room liaison in Dexter, Michigan. That's had a tasting center there in cooperation with the cider mill, and had a lot of fun. And while Ann didn't get a chance to come out there much, I often would come out here when I was bringing wines back and forth, and always great singer, smiling face, and just having a lot of fun. Here's to Ann.
Okay, we've been coming here since 2002.
Since 2003.
2003. We moved here in 2002. We went on the wine trail, and we just really enjoyed being here at Sandhill Crane Wineries. The wine's always wonderful. Actually, it's a little too good. And the people have been so sweet and enjoyable to be around. And Ann was always, well, I don't know about always here, but she was here frequently. And sometimes we would come with a group, and she would join the group, and she decided she wanted to marry one of the guys in our group. That was, it was really funny because I can't remember what he said, but she says, I want to marry him. But we just really enjoyed her. She was always a hoot and a funny lady, and just sweet as can be.
Neither one of us knew that we were wine drinkers in 2002 and 2003. We saw that the Pioneer Wine Trail was having an event, and the first thing starting was at Sandhill Crane. So we came out here and we met Norm and Alice and Ann, the matriarchs and the patriarchs of Sandhill Crane. And all three of them were all different, but Ann was the one that was the funny one all the time.
All the time.
Would say maybe not inappropriate words, maybe that's not the right word, but would smile, make a laugh out of every conversation. And she had her own humor that was always definitely her humor.
And she would join us.
And she would sit down and join and drink with us. And what if she was drinking water or wine, I never did know, but she would just sit down and have a good time and make us feel welcome, make us feel like we were family. And she was part of the group that made everybody who came to Sandhill Crane become family. You were never a customer here. You were a family member here, and that was all three of their charms. And we just loved Ann, and
We'll really miss Ann.
We miss
Alice
her
and
humor
Norm.
and her smile.
So I was introduced to Annie, obviously when I started working here at the winery, but I got invited back to her porch just shy of a year of working here, which was a very coveted thing, and you knew you were part of like the in crowd when you got invited back to her porch for a swanky swig of a tiny Manhattan after you worked a long shift all day. And she was just the sassiest, kindest, coolest woman, talking about stories from when she was young, and just an overall badass of a woman, someone that you always hope that you're going to be like when you get older. And since then, it became a tradition to go to her house after work or go to her house during lunch and play with her cats and catch up on the day and everything. And she was always so invested in our lives and those that she loved, our lives, that even when I moved away, it was heartbreaking to leave the family I had built here for the winery, because they had been such a huge support during a pivotal moment in my life. But I kept in contact with her with phone chats occasionally, which was just the best. She's just, I can't say a lot about her because she's just the best, and that just covers it all. She was a phenomenal woman. Always had a quick wit to say, always had a sassy joke to say when you served her wine. Just never turned it down, but gave the best hugs imaginable. It was just like a warm hug. And from someone who lost her grandparents when she was pretty young, it was like she filled that spot in my heart. So I'm super thankful for her and for the family here for the 5 years I got to spend with them. And she'll be missed greatly, but I'm very thankful to know her.
Okay, since I'm the eldest, I shall start.
Absolutely.
I'm Carolyn, and I was friends with Ann for 60 years. We met at the bank, and we were on the investigation board, and she taught me how to do crossword puzzles on bank time, and we worked there forever until they turned to Comerica.
And I'm Gloria, and I've known Ann for 48 years, and Carolyn, and the three of us were pretty well inseparable many times. We had vacations in Saugatuck almost every year, just the three of us. We went to Hawaii in 1999, great trip. We swam in Ann's pool, and we skinny dipped in that pool, if you want to know the truth. And I ate breakfast at Ann's, and Ann told me it was okay to put butter on my toast, even though the kitty had licked the butter. We also spent many, many Halloweens together. We were the three blind mice, we were the three little pigs, we were the Blues Brothers, we were three old ladies, and now we are three old ladies. We also went to Chicago to see the grand statue of Marilyn Monroe, and we got to look up her dress and see her white panties. And we were fun. Thank you.
I'm Paulette, and this is my husband, Lou. We've known Ann through Lou's cousin, Gloria. We've probably known her for over 20 years, probably more than that, but we have such great memories of Ann and our times here at Sandhill Crane. And we just remember her as being so much fun to be around, and such a youthful sense of humor, and kind-hearted, and she's such a gracious lady. And it was just so great knowing her over the years.
And we'll miss you. We love you. Thank you.
Ann was my aunt, my dad's sister, and when I was younger, she lived in the Chinese Pagoda on Grosseal. And when I was quite young, probably in my like 10 years old, 12 years old, I used to be able to go there for the weekend, and I would help Uncle Don, that was her husband, get a tree fertilizing business. We would go do that, and then I'd get to play at the pagoda, which was the coolest place in the world to play as a kid. There were secret passages, there were stairways that came out of a closet that went down to the basement. There was a tunnel in the basement that came up in the backyard next to the horse stables. So as a kid, that was the most fun place to play in the world. And I got to spend a lot of weekends there and spend time with both of them. And then as I grew older, I got to come out here to the winery, and Ann was always here, and she was always fun to sit and have a glass of wine with. Even last fall, when it was the last time I saw her, we sat and drank a whole bottle of wine together and just had a great old time.
I cannot remember the exact moment that I met Annie, but she was always here at the winery, and every time I came here, she was here. And if she wasn't, then she would soon show up. I'm just making her proud today, you know. Annie and I just had an immediate sarcastic bond that just turned into almost like a love. One day it was just making fun of each other to "I love you." And I will remember her Manhattans. I will remember her laugh, and I will remember her loving my children and caring about our family. And I probably remember more the day she started hugging me than the day I met her. So to say she was a staple is a complete understatement. She's totally like mortar in between all the bricks, and I just love her and I miss her.
Ann was probably the kindest soul that I've met. She was very witty, obviously, and the thing that I enjoyed with Ann was we would just sit down, and it didn't matter if it was when I was 10 years old, 12 years old, or if I was 40 years old. We just left off right where we were. You know, whether it was cracking jokes, talking about her kitties, or whatever it was. And it was very seamless. And she always was very welcoming, loving. I really enjoyed Ann, and I'll miss her.
Hi, I'm Lori. I've known Annie for 6 years. It's always been fun to have her come into the winery and give us a little sass. She always made us laugh, and we miss her a lot.